Hello everyone. In this video we'll be talking about how do we create charts in Microsoft Excel. Usually charts in Microsoft Excel are very important. We'll try to actually cover up the importance of having charts in Excel, when to create which type of a chart, and then we'll explore through how the charts can be created in Microsoft Excel. When it comes to importance of charts in Excel, charts usually help visualize the data. Let's say you have a lot of data in the form of a table, and then you wanted to understand how this data is communicating, what this data is communicating, what kind of trends you have, or what kind of performance this data is speaking about. All of that, if you really want to compare, understanding the data in the form of tables, applying filters to it, making it in the form of different types of tables, or applying sorting to it, counting to it, summarizing it, is a lot of hectic job. And more than that, it's very difficult for you to understand in a quick sight. So that's why charts, when you create in Microsoft Excel, they help you visualize the data, making it very easy to understand the trends, patterns, and you'll be able to draw greater insights as per the requirement of the user. So to be precise and be very clear, charts are very important because it will help you in visualizing your data, where you can convert complex data into clear visuals that makes your understanding much easier and very much faster. Apart from this, if you have a data something relating to time-based data, like let's say I'm trying to understand sales of my product in the last 1 year. So month wise I can generate the sales chart, week wise I can generate a sales chart, or day wise also I can generate a sales chart. This is where I'm trying to see the trend, whether my sales are increasing over a period of time or whether my sales are decreasing over a period of time. This, if you have to understand by looking at the table, it won't be pretty easy. So when you make a chart, you will be able to make a line chart. Let's say if you look at very precisely, and if you create a line chart, that helps you understand whether the line is going up, whether the line is going down. Accordingly, you will know at which point my sales are increasing, at which point the sales are decreasing, and then later you will try to relate what are the reasons for them based upon your marketing strategies or promotional activities you have conducted in your company. That's how charts are very important, and charts can help your job make very easy in understanding the data, and you can be able to try telling the story behind the data pretty easily. Now the important question, most of the people often fail in identifying a right chart for the kind of a data you have. So let's say I'll quickly take you through my Excel dataset. Here you have a dataset. Here we have something called month, region, product category, sales, profit, units, marketing amount spent, and the customer satisfaction percentage. Now here, some of the data sets are in terms of characters, some of the data sets are in terms of numbers, and you might have some data on to dates, date or time. You might have data into percentages. So a lot of data you'll have. You have now numerical data. You might even have non-numerical data. Now the question comes here, if I have to make a chart for product category, what type of a data I have to use? What type of a chart I have to use? Whether I should go for a line chart, I should go for a bar chart, I should go for a column chart, pie chart, donut chart, scatter plot, what type of a chart I should go. It's very important that you choose a right chart for the right set of a data, which is why this question, when to use which kind of a chart. Assume that you are trying to compare between category, but here for example I wanted to create a chart for the product category. I'm trying to compare between how many transactions have happened with electronics, how many sales transactions happened with furniture, apparel, etc. If I'm trying to compare between each product category, in such cases the ideal charts that you can go with can be a column chart, can be a bar chart, or can be even, different categories of column and bar charts you can create here. Similarly, if you wanted to look the sales trend over a period of time, you're trying to compare between different times and how my sales have grown or my sales have degrown. You want to see the performance from time to time. In such cases, your bar chart will not give you a right answers to it. So better we go for a line chart. So we usually go here. You see a lot of charts here. You just go, or if I just click on this export button, I see a lot of kind of a charts. They're all different types of charts. These are different types of charts I have. Column chart, line chart, pie chart, bar, area, scatter, maps and stocks, surface, radar, tree maps. See, so many number of charts that you have. But not every chart will be appropriate for every type of a data. That's where it's very important that you understand the nature of the data and accordingly fix the chart. So I'll quickly make you understand on what basis we usually choose a chart. When we call a chart is right. See, while choosing the chart, you have to ask yourself three different questions. While choosing a chart, you have to ask for yourself three different types of questions. What story do you want to tell with the data? Whether you want to speak about the performance, whether you wanted to just understand the transactions, or whether you wanted to say something else. So it depends on what you wanted to say. You should be very clear and you should be able to visualize in your mind how do you wanted to see your chart. That's more important. Then what type of a data you are having in front of you. Whether you're planning to make a chart with categorical data, numerical data, or a time series data. Majorly in Excel, while we are trying to make charts, we come across these three different types of data in most of the cases. These are numerical, categorical, time series. And when you're trying to deal with these types of data, you should be very clear to choose a right and appropriate type of a chart. By having these two questions in mind, you'll be able to choose right chart. Now let us quickly start understanding how to create a charts in Microsoft Excel. So for you to understand this, let me explain you. There are two types of data sets in my Excel sheet. This is a data set, a real sales data set, which is measured in terms of month, region, product category. So based on three different levels, the data has been created, and this is my data set, which is in real time. This is how your raw data look like. On the other sides, I have another sheet where I have data which is pretty well summarized, pretty old in days, maybe around 20 years back, when people were using Excel for a very basic purposes. We usually used to have data in this format. The data is already summarized and you are just asked to make a chart. In that case, what all you need to do, just choose the particular data set on which you wanted to create a chart. Now the things are pretty easy. Earlier we used to just go and choose which type of a chart I have to create out of so many charts options that I have got. Now Excel has become so intelligent that it can recommend you what are the appropriate charts based on the data type that you have got. Here in this particular example, you have month and you have got sales. Month happens to be a non-numerical data set, whereas sales is a numerical data. Now that you are trying to create a chart for both of these columns together, you just need to go, if at all someone has a doubt which chart is appropriate to me, just go click on recommended charts. It will give you few recommendations based upon the nature of the data. So now what is the option that you have? You can go with a clustered column chart. You can go with a line chart because this is speaking about months, which is about time. So because you're trying to compare sales between months from January to June, it will give you a comparison. So that's what I said. If you know the purpose of your chart, assume that this data I can either go for a column chart, I can go for a line chart, both of this. So now the purpose I have to check. If I have to compare the sales performance whether my sales are growing and decreasing, increasing kind of a thing, then I should usually go for a line chart. If I'm trying to compare between sales of every month, then I usually go for a bar chart, column chart, right? So that's how, depending upon the purpose and depending upon the nature of the data that you have, you would be deciding which chart you want to go. Now here, the charts recommendations are already here. If you're not wanting to have these kind of a charts, you can still go ahead, click on all charts and see all the different charts that are available here. Pick the right type of the chart which you wanted to actually go for. So that's all we can do. Now let's say I'll go for the recommended charts. I'm trying to compare between the sales of month-on-month sales. I'll just go for a line chart, click on OK. Now you can see the chart is created on the summarized data and I've created a line chart. Now here I can clearly see during the Jan month these are the sales, during the Feb month these are the sales. So from January till March my sales have increased. Suddenly in the month of April my sales have, from March to April my sales have come down, and again after April my sales started growing up. Now for a manager who is getting into the sales of the company, who is into the marketing strategic development, for him it's a big understanding there is some reason during April why my sales have come down. So you can actually try to understand if you have made any strategic changes. If you have stopped allocating any budget for your April month, or is it that there was some news from the government which has impacted the sales of that particular product portfolio? All that inferences and story you can create based on what has happened in the chart. Now for this to create, you should also understand what is a business. No chart gives you a real story unless you have a pure understanding about what is your business. So chart alone doesn't give you any insight without having a proper knowledge of your business, which is why use of charts, use of data, use of statistics is all very good in terms of analytics, but all of these analytics or all of these analysis that you do should be always related to the current business position, which is why having enough knowledge about the business is pretty important. Now coming back to the discussion on charts, now that I've created a basic chart here, now someone says this is looking very dull, very normal, not so beautiful, it doesn't really highlight anything much. In that case, if you go to chart design tab here, you have a lot of charts which are pre-designed. So I can go with this, it looks even more beautiful. I can go with this. I can go with this. I can go with this like this. I can start creating any designs. These are predefined design charts, and if you wanted to create your own, you can even create your own. You can just click here and see a lot of color combinations that you can go for. You can see the color of the chart lines keep changing based upon how I wanted my chart to look like. And again, the moment you change your color themes, again the color shades will get upgraded to you accordingly. Correct. Now apart from this, there is something called a chart all elements you have got here. Like the same thing can be found onto your ribbon also here as add chart element. You can see a lot of options available here. Now what is this used for? Let's say for example I request you, when you start practicing charts, I wanted that you choose everything here, try to apply, check here and try to see what happens. Now here axis is already on. Now I've got my sales as a title of the chart is already there. Now if I wanted to go with the axis title, now I've got x-axis and y-axis titles. X-axis, it is a good habit to have axis name mentioned. Here I'm saying month, but here the numbers, I don't understand what does this number represent unless I have known the data set, which is what I have to do. I have to mention the name of the axis. Here these numbers like 1 lakh, 17 lakhs, 18 lakhs, 19 lakhs, 20 lakhs, these are representing what? These are representing the sales data, which you can clearly see in the table. But somebody who's directly seeing the chart without having access to the table, he'll not be able to understand what is in x-axis and what is in y-axis, which is why it is always important that you give the name of the axis and the title month on month sales growth chart. I can give a title of the chart like this. So, and what does this line represent? Now here this is a line. I don't understand exactly what is the value. I can understand these values somewhere lying between 21 lakhs to 22 lakhs. I can keep my mouse button here and then it will show me it's 21 lakh 60,000. But if I have taken this chart in the form of an image and pasting it in my report, which I am going to submit it to my manager, this balloon help will not work. So what I have to do, I can always ensure that I can give numbers here directly. So what I do, I'll click on data labels. Now you see that when the moment I clicked on to data labels, the numbers of that particular points are highlighted right away. This way you could play around the different various chart elements here. Try to see if you could put a trend line. You want to put a legend. Legend is something which represents the what does this green color represent, the line represent. So this line actually represents sales. Now somebody says, because of this legend my chart size is reduced, which is why people usually remove legend. So whether to keep the legend or not to keep the legend is absolutely the decision of the user. And then further options what you have, if I want the legend to be towards the bottom or a top, I can still make it. So I'll just make it bottom. Now see the legend has come here. Now what will happen? The length of the chart remains same. The height of the chart is reduced. If I remove this legend, my height also increases a little bit. Because anything that you put, it occupies some space. So it's up to the user how he wanted the data to be looked at, how many elements he wanted to be adding to the chart, and how he wanted to add the chart. All of this is his job. So now this is how the charts are created using data that is already summarized. Now assume that we are going to a data set like this where data is not summarized, data is already made available, it's a raw data, and then you have to create the chart properly. Now I want to create a chart for product category wise units sold. So how many number of units are sold per each category, I want to see that. Now what I have to do, I have to select the first column which I wanted to show, and then I have to go and select the second column called units sold. So the moment I am selecting the second column, my first column got deselected. So if I have to select multiple columns which are in a different numbers, what I have to do, select the first column, press on your control button, then click on to which column you wanted to add. So I have clicked on F, so I got selected units sold. Now I have got two columns selected. One is product category and units sold. So I wanted to bring in a chart between these two. What is my intention? I want to see the chart which presents total number of units sold by category. How many categories we have? I could see three categories right away: electronics, furniture and apparel. For all of these categories there are multiple responses, multiple inputs here. So for example, initially for the electronics category the unit sold is 120, and in my next electronics category unit sold is 140. Like this, multiple transactions happened for each of the product category in different months. Now what I meant, in all the months put together, I wanted to know electronics, total number of units sold under electronics, total number of units sold under furniture, total number of units sold under apparel, considering for all the months of that 6 months, which actually need a proper summarization of the table if at all you need to create a chart. But in Excel today, the charts and the pivot table has got integration, which is why this job becomes very easy. So what I'll do, I'll just go to insert, click on recommended chart, and then I'll just go quickly and see this is a chart I would go because I wanted category wise. I'll just click on OK. Now this is the best thing, the moment you have created this data, automatically here the pivot table is created wherein you can see product category wise total number of sums used. And if you have already learned pivot table, you see what you did. Product category is automatically plugged into rows grid, and the sum of the units sold is directly put into the values grid. So it has not only created a chart, it has created your pivot table. So that can clearly give you an understanding that in Excel, if you are working on a raw data and if you wanted to create table on the data which is not summarized, Excel will automatically summarize using the pivot table option, and it will also create you a chart. So instead of you creating a pivot table first and then creating a chart onto that, you can directly get a pivot table as well as pivot chart directly by selecting the required columns and choosing the right chart that you would like to create. The same thing we'll do it for some other data set here like this. I'll again go back to real-time data set. Now this time I'll click on region and then I'll click on sales revenue. So insert, this time instead of going to recommended charts, I'll directly go to the chart type and then I'll click on column chart. Now if you see, it has not generated me any pivot table. Can you see that? Here it has given me the direct table. There is no pivot table that is created. This is a normal chart that has been created without having any pivot table. Now what is the problem in this data in such case? I can see north multiple times if you can observe the data, and I can see south multiple times. I've got the chart as it is, however the raw data is visible. It is not summarized. But will this chart work for me? It doesn't work for me because I was wanting region wise total amount of sales revenue for the entire 6 months I wanted. Now what is it showing? It is showing first month north region what is sale, second month north region what is sale, third month north region what is the sale. That too without giving any clarification, this chart is created. So this is an absolute stupid chart. So that's the reason. Creating a chart is not important. Creating a chart which is valid, which gives a proper meaning is important. Now how do we solve this issue? Let's see. See, I'm going again to region and then sales. Earlier we have been to insert and directly we have chosen the chart that we wanted. Now instead I'll go for recommended charts. I'll choose the type of a chart I wanted. Now you see, based on the type of a chart you have chosen, it has automatically created the pivot table. So which is why creating a table chart manually just by choosing your own chart, the type of a chart, like from here if you choose any of the charts, it will directly give you a chart without any summarization of the data. Instead, if you go to recommended charts, from here I have to do it. So if I go to the recommended charts, what will happen? It will give you a recommended. Now if I click here, it is a normal chart. If you can see in the preview, you can see it's a normal chart that we have created without any summarization. So but I actually wanted data that is summarized. So I have to choose appropriate chart so that it will give you a proper summarization. So that's the reason you should be very clear what kind of a chart you wanted. You should be able to visualize, is this what I actually want? Only then you can create the chart as per the requirement of the user. So you should first understand what does your user want and then create a chart accordingly in an easier manner. This is how charts can be created. Again, even here you can go to design. A lot of designs of the charts are available. Choose which design you are interested in and just create that design of the chart. You can actually implement. And all of such elements, additional elements of chart, you still have with you, and you can add as many elements as you want depending upon the size of the chart that you want. But the only thing you need to remember, adding more elements to the chart will result in reducing the size of the chart. That's what you can remember. So that's all about the chart. I wish you'll be able to explore all the small options that you have got, and then you will learn the charts pretty easily. Thank you so much.